2 or 3 months ago, Darren and I were talking about moisture in corn, and we just made the comment that, you know what, corn moisture is now more important than yield in a lot of cases. And don't get me wrong, yield's super important. We gotta have yield, we know that. But the point is, if you have a corn that's 3 points wetter, 5 points wetter, 8 points wetter, that costs you an unbelievable amount of money, and I'll gladly sacrifice 2 bushels on yield to gain 5 or 8 points of moisture.
Now, there's a plot that I was looking at in our area this past fall here, and I had somebody tell me, you know what, boy, the untreated corn yielded better than the VT3. And I said, well, really? Let's take a look at it. And it turned out to be an 88-day refuge corn with a 95-day VT3. So it's 7 days earlier, and I think it was about 7 points of moisture different too. So when you started figuring the drying in, even if you gave up some yield going to the refuge corn, having that much drier corn made a big difference.
So the point is, it wasn't the refuge that was gaining you, it was the earlier corn.
It had nothing to do with the trait, it was the maturity of the corn. Now, are we going to have a year that's just like this year, next year in 2010? Absolutely not. It's going to be different. We just don't know how. It might be colder, or it might be warmer, or it might be wetter or drier. We don't know. The point is, you need to learn from your mistakes on the farm. And for us, our mistake has been planting too late a corn. We need to plant earlier maturing corn. Not a huge jump, but you know, we figured out, okay, 1 in 10 years, this kind of thing is going to happen. So let's move it up a couple of days, plant a couple days earlier corn, and then we don't have to worry about having super wet corn that we can't harvest in the field or that we're going to lose a lot of money on drying down.
Yep, so what we've done over the last 10 years, and I look back at our records, in 1999, we were planting on our farm on average 105-day corn. And we, at the time, were also getting about maybe 125, 130 bushel average corn yield. Well, now in 2009, we averaged somewhere around 190 bushel corn, so a big jump in yield, but we also moved our maturity from 105-day 10 years ago down to 94-day on average. We moved down 11 days in maturity. The main reason why is we look at what moisture costs us. You know, it's the hassle of having to deal with that stuff in the fall, having to wait to harvest later, and then sometimes you don't get your tillage done. What does all that stuff cost you besides the direct cost? So take, for example, let's say you've got 5 extra points of moisture. What does that really cost? Well, on average, a lot of elevators will charge you 6 cents a point just for drying, not for the shrink, but just for the drying charge. Well, 6 cents a point on 5 points, that's 30 cents a bushel. On 200 bushel corn, that's $60 an acre. That's enormous. $60 an acre. That's more than we'll spend on fertilizer in a lot of cases, more than we'll spend on herbicides by far and away. I mean, it's an enormous deal. So you got to take a look at what does that moisture really cost you.
Well, I think on the farm you may be saying, well, wait a minute, this year was kind of a fluke. It's not going to happen much. I don't want to change anything. And I just look, as you were mentioning, you know, from what we were doing 10 years ago to what we're doing today. We're doing so many more things to encourage better plant health. Using fungicides in corn and in soybeans on our farm. We're keeping those plants healthier longer in the season. We don't need that really long maturity window to be able to get a crop. We can do it with a shorter day hybrid, keeping that healthy all the way through the season.
Well, it's not just
we're stopping the bugs as well.
Right, it's not just the fungicide, it's stopping the bugs. It's doing a better job with weed control, doing a better job with fertility. All these things, everything that adds up to yield. And you know, when we started talking about this a few months ago, we got a lot of feedback from viewers who said, well, I live in Illinois or Indiana or wherever, and we need 110-day corn just to get the kind of yields you guys are getting on your farm. What's different? Is your climate different there? Your soil? What's going on? You know, it's not.
Well, this is the ideal place to farm, Brian.
Yeah.
South Dakota.
Yeah,
you know, it's it's warm for a few months out of the year. We occasionally get a rain. You know, it's lovely 12 inches of topsoil here. We've got a lot of advantages.
More like 4. So anyway, we're not dealing with great soils. We don't get a lot of rainfall. We don't have the best weather conditions, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you we're the best farmers in the world either. But what I am saying is, if you manage all the other things on your farm, the fertility, the weed control, the insects, diseases, everything else there is to manage, you know what, stepping that corn down from 110-day maturity to 100, or from 100-day down to 90, it's really not going to hurt you that much. In most cases, you're going to far exceed your yield loss with gains in moisture, harvestability. You'll be done more on time. You'll have all your tillage work done, your fertility work, everything else. You got to look at the big picture on this thing. And what we're saying in a lot of cases is you need to move your maturity up. There are a lot of people we deal with in North Dakota, for example, that plant 90, 95-day corn. That's got to end. You can't plant that when you're that far north. You need to be planting 75 to 85-day corn at the most. So you just have to use your head a little bit and decide, you know, I don't have consistent enough heat that I can get my crop harvested by Halloween, so I need to start moving that maturity down, then manage all the other things on your farm as good as you can possibly do. Because yes, you're going to give up just a little bit of yield when you move your maturity down, but you're going to gain in so many other ways. It's really important.
Well, I think you'd agree with us in the fact that corn hybrids have really come along in the last 10 years. I mean, the corn hybrids we're planting today are superior to what we were planting 10 years ago. And where we've seen the biggest jump is in the earlier maturing corns. Yes, the 110-day corns are better than what the 110-day corns were 10 years ago, but the 80 and 90-day corns are so much better. It's just night and day with what we used to be able to plant in these maturities. Try some of those earlier numbers, even if it's just on a small part of your farm, and see how it works for you.
Yeah, some of the best corn we had off our farm this year was 83 and 86-day corn, and 90 was really good too. Well, most people in our area are planting 95 to 100-day corn. And what we're saying is 85 and 90-day corn, it's yielding just about right with it in our area. So take a look at everything on your farm, but that moisture is a huge deal, especially as your yield goes up, your dollars per acre in terms of cost of drying also go up. So keep that moisture in mind when you're picking varieties for your farm next year.
Well, one challenge in your corn production could be weed control. We'll show you how to kill this tough weed later in the show.